Maggie Meister, thank you for coming back to my channel today. I'm so happy to have you back.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. I've just loved this whole process of working with you, and I think what you're doing is extremely important for the art world and the bead world. So
Thank you.
kudos to
I love it, and getting to spend time with you is the best part of all.
you.
Thank
Yeah.
you for answering my millions of emails. Okay, without further ado, now I'm going to put a link in the show notes to our first interview, which, by the way, has been watched, I forget how many times, thousands of times so far. Okay, it's doing extremely well on my YouTube channel. In our last interview, we talked about the book that you published in 2011 to enormous success called Maggie Meister's Classical Elegance 20 Beaded Jewelry Designs. And we're not going to cover it too much today, but we are going to show a couple of diagrams from it, okay, a little bit later on in our presentation. To begin with, I'd like to talk about some of your role as an educator in the beading community, not just in the US, but in different parts of the world, okay? After that, we'll look at some more pieces of your work inspired by different things, we'll see. And then we're going to talk about your first trip to India in 2021 to participate in the wedding of your son, Carl. And then we're going to talk about your second trip to India, which happened just a few months ago in February of 2024. You went on kind of a cultural arts tour, really, and came back with amazing photos and experiences and memories and people you met. And then as we close, we're going to return to your role as an educator, because next year you're planning to offer a master class. It's going to be hosted at what is her name? Samantha Norgard's place in Nova Scotia. So we're going to talk about that briefly, but we have so many incredible things to cover. Okay, so I'd like to get started. You taught in Germany not too long ago, and this first image here shows you in the process of teaching quite a few students in Germany. What was that like, and where was it?
Well, it was at Bergen Castle, if I'm not saying that correctly, I hope, in Germany, southern Germany.
Mhm.
And it was a beautiful place to teach. I was taught in a huge, huge room with beautiful wallpaper. And I can remember going outside and just overlooking the grounds. It was just magnificent. So it was a wonderful experience. And we actually got a tour of it by a docent. And that was really interesting and wonderful too. So it was a great time. It was just fun. And the German students were they were so much fun. All of my students are fun. They just make me laugh. And they're just really nice ladies. It was a great experience. What can I say?
Well, I think your students are matching your openness and your love of fun and your joie de vivre, your happiness at just being alive and being with other beaders, other artists. I'm interested in this building, the Borgelm Castle, or however it's pronounced. I was looking it up online, and apparently the original structure was starting to be built in 1761. So it's an 18th century building. It has the most beautiful, wide, spacious rooms. And it's in the Rococo style, which doesn't mean too much to me. What it means is it's not Baroque, it's not all heavy and ponderous. Interiors and exteriors. It's lighter in weight, more open, more airy. And you said you taught in a really big room. I can only imagine the ceiling must have been beautiful. The walls must have been beautiful.
Well, the light, I'm sure that's why they chose it. The light, I mean, the one wall was all lined with large, large windows. So the light is fabulous in that.
Wow, incredible. And then there's this image here of the library. Were you able to tour the library, and what did you think of it?
Yeah, amazing, amazing. I liked the colors of this place too. You see that there's some blue in there and the gold, and it's the library. I wish I had had more time to actually look through the books, but I had a job to do. So,
Right. No, of course you did. Of course you did.
yeah.
And I have to ask you, how was the food? I have not had a lot of German food in my life, but what I've had, I really liked.
I love German food. I love it. In fact, It's very good. It's obviously heavier than, say, Italian food, but it's a different culture and it's also a different climate.
Yeah, it's a different climate. Yeah.
What was funny is sausages and the sauerkraut. My husband adores sauerkraut, and the potatoes, all of this. It was really well done, and there's some nice sauces in there, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. One quick funny story: when we were in Italy, stationed in Italy, we went up one summer to Germany, first time, and we went up to Bavaria, and when we were eating dinner, Carl says, "Now this is good food. This is better than the Italian food."
Okay.
So I thought, though you say that now, but I guess he didn't like Italian food. None of us had any idea, but so it's good.
I think German food might be a little closer to American food than Italian food probably is, and maybe somewhat less spicy or rich and aromatically rich, I think. I don't know. Anyway, I have to ask about the desserts.
I don't remember.
I bet they were
Oh
good.
no, I'm sorry. The pastries there are magnificent. My father loved German pastries. He loved them. In fact, there was a bakery near where I lived in New Jersey that he would come visit, and we'd go get pastries and not tell my mother. His father was actually a baker in New Orleans and baked, well, from Germany. He was from Germany.
Wow.
So yeah, it's very sweet, great fillings, crisp, crisp dough, wonderful.
And you mentioned that your grandmother was also from Germany, and that she wrote in a certain old-fashioned German script, and that I think a lady at in your class in Germany. What did she do again?
He came up with this little piece of paper. I have it somewhere, and I opened it and I said, "Oh my gosh, this is how my grandmother used to write," and it was the Our Father in German or something like that. And my grandmother used to always give me the little Our Father in the German writing. It's an old way of writing, and it was beautiful, but it really brought back memories of my grandmother for me.
Wow. So by the Our Father, you mean the Our Father prayer? Is that
The
just,
prayer.
is it just a Catholic prayer, or is it?
No, I think Henry VIII made it Protestant too, I think.
Okay. So it transcends denominations. Okay, so that was in Germany. You've also taught in Tucson and many other places. How was it to teach in Tucson?
Well, it was during the Tucson show, which is, as you know, a great place to spend money. But Kathy Dannerbeck, who I taught for at Beads and Beyond, and who's a very good friend of mine, she arranged for me to teach a class for our friends in Tucson. So I don't believe it was at her home. I think it was at someone else's home or a community center for the development. But that was really fun. I really enjoyed that, teaching in Tucson. First of all, it's a beautiful area, so light and airy, and so that was, I don't remember what I taught, but it was a fun class, and it was small.
Okay, that's all right. Now you've also taught in England, and this next image shows you with Heather Kingsley Heath, who's a famous UK beadworker and educator, and Lynn Firth, who owned the shop that was hosting your visit, your class, your workshop in England.
She owned Stitch and Craft Beads, and it was a fabulous place. And it's in the Dorset area of the UK. She lives in Shaftesbury, which is a small, typical English village. It's just wonderful to walk around and beautiful. I'm a big fan of the UK. I think it's such a beautiful country. I love the people. They have such a nice wit. So her studio was a wonderful bead store, huge. It was like a barn, refinished barn. And it was really fun to teach there. The gals were very funny. I can remember laughing quite a bit at the difference between our languages, and also that there's fossils in that area. And quick story here. I love fossils, and so does Laura McCabe, and she teaches there or taught there also. So outside, the parking lot was covered with stones, and some were fossils, so you could find fossils. So I was coming in with them, bringing them every time I taught there. And Lynn finally said to me, "Maggie, the landlord's going to be furious with you and Laura taking all the fossils out of the stones. You're going to empty the driveway. I said, no, not that bad.
Just take a few each time.
Person ran a beautiful store and wonderful classes, and I enjoyed time with her and her husband. They were a lot of fun.
Okay. So now moving on to your jewelry, we're going to look at some very specific examples today. In our first interview, we talked about 3 points of inspiration that you love, that you worked from, that you've built amazing pieces from, like a lot of artists in the world, other artists. Your first point of inspiration that we talked about last time was ancient mosaics. We also talked about at least one example of fine art, a painting by Caravaggio. And we also talked about a couple of examples of your love of architecture as a point of inspiration. And so that's all in the last interview. In this interview, we're going to talk about 3 more points of inspiration. First, we're going to talk about your love of jewelry, both ancient and modern. And then we're going to show a stunning fresco that you used as a point of inspiration to make it a beautiful necklace, an ancient fresco. And lastly, we're going to talk about one example of how you use beading technique itself as a point of inspiration to create something that's never before been created, to configure or reconfigure techniques in such a way that never before been done. And you can make them do stunning things because you're a master of technique. Okay. So
Thank you.
You're welcome. First, we're going to talk about jewelry, ancient jewelry as a point of inspiration. And then we're going to show a couple of modern examples of modern jewelry. So first is this fantastic necklace you found in a book. You're working from a picture in a book. This book is called Greek Gold. And you opened it and you came across this incredible ancient necklace. What was your reaction when you saw this ancient necklace?
Well, I loved the ideas of the little pods and the rosettes all the way across, and the pods were hanging from the rosettes, and they also had the faces, which I knew I couldn't capture in beads. But I did, I was already dealing with, working with circular peyote. So I started to build off of that to make the rosettes. So they're 3-dimensional. And I did a backside too, so it was flat. Yeah. Then I wanted to do the pods, and I used tubular peyote for those pods, the large ones. Okay. It's tubular peyote. Okay. And as it went, you'll find a lot of these necklaces all over ancient antiquity. They were beautiful, beautiful necklaces of little heads and floral motifs and whatever. So I just wanted to capture this piece. And so I did it with, I tried to do it the best I could with the peyote. And I don't think I used brick stitch in that. As you know, I use brick stitch quite a bit.
But you must have been in a peyote stitch mood that day, because peyote stitch captures the essence of the original just very, very beautifully. And I assume that the original heads and maybe the acorn-like structures, whatever they should be called, are hollow form gold, yes, which is really hard to do. Hollow form silver is hard. Hollow form, building up hollow form structures in gold is also equally hard. And I think it's beautiful that the pods on your necklace, your Persephone necklace, are also hollow form. They're hollow on the inside, right? And that allows you to create something incredibly lightweight but lush and beautiful. And I also love these little squiggles, I don't know what else to call them, that are coming down between the pod-like structures. What technique is that?
It's Nepal stitch. Remember in the last interview, we talked about the grapes that I made with Nepal stitch. Right. So they weren't really grapes, they were just little stems of certain things, So I just used Nepal stitch again. It's a really nice stitch. It has a lot of possibilities. So
okay, and it's kind of free form. In contrast to the symmetry of the pod shapes, which are so regal in and of themselves, these little Nepal stitch elements add a touch of lightness and also movement, fluidity to an otherwise kind of solid necklace, but incredibly beautiful. And I love the clasp too. Looks like a simple hook and eye. With the eye being a little rosette, right? A beaded rosette.
Yes, yes.
And the eye is probably some kind of gold wire.
Yeah, I
And the
used the
hook,
gold wire.
excuse me, the hook. The hook is some
The
kind
hook, I'm sorry, I made this, the extent of my bead, my working skills is, making the hook.
well,
And I hid the bottom of it so that you don't see how bad it was. But it's a hook. And then the other piece was just a jump ring that I attached, a flat piece of soldered gold.
Okay.
And I attached to the rosette.
okay, well, beautifully done and elegantly, like discreet, like slightly hidden. But not hidden so much that the wearer can't even find the clasp, which has happened to me. I would get phone calls from women who are like, I've got the necklace on and I can't get it off because I can't find the clasp because it's too hidden. But you didn't make a mistake. No, you're much wiser than I ever
No,
was.
no, I'm sure I could do that very easily.
Well, occupational hazard, I guess. And then
It's,
we're moving on to this ancient Roman disc brooch here that's in the collection of the Metropolitan Museum of New York. I absolutely love this piece because of it's on different levels and it's a very strong piece. It's so seemingly self-confident, right? And the colored elements are made of glass. I read, is that right?
yeah, glass. I think they're glass, so like a millefiori technique, perhaps.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
millefiori type of
I,
glass. It's a beautiful use.
yeah. When I first saw it, I thought of lapis, but it's not lapis. In our researching it, we found out it's not lapis. But I thought of lapis anyway.
Right. Well,
So
I would think of lapis too. And you mentioned that many of this general style of brooch was very common in its era. So like first century, third century, something like that AD in the classical world. So you've seen many. This is not the only one that you've seen.
I saw a lot in Cologne. There is a wonderful museum, which is a Roman museum, but it is the Goths. It's their style of jewelry. It's northern more, and you'll see a lot of these style of brooches. And I imagine that they were used to put together, whatever they were wearing, shawl or, I don't know, linen or wool shawl. So.
Like a cape, maybe a long flowing cape to hold it in place or
Yeah.
something like
I'll
that.
look and see if I can find a picture of somebody wearing them.
Okay, if you find it, I'll throw it into the slides, right? And you made in response the Boudica necklace. Tell me about this.
Um, well, I like her. I mean, she was the leader of the Iceni tribe. I'm sure I'm not saying that correctly. Iceni in the UK, in Britain, Great Britain, and during Roman times. And she fought against the Romans. I think they killed her husband. I'm not sure. And so she raised uprising and had battles against the Romans. They ended up defeating her, and I think she was either killed in battle or died in prison. But she was a very force to be reckoned with, that to take on the Roman army.
So there was in history an actual woman named Boudica, whom I'd never heard of before, until you mentioned her. And she was a very strong warrior type of woman because she had to be, I guess,
Right.
to protect her people and avenge the death of her husband, it sounds like.
Yeah, yes, very strong woman. There's some movies out there about it. And they're okay. And there's a documentary about her that somewhere. If I can find that, I'll send you the link.
How did you design this necklace? You know, the original brooch seems to be divided into 5 parts. And your necklace, you've just divided the rondelle, the central piece, into 6 parts, right? So where did you begin here?
I started with the central piece of the necklace, the central focal piece, which are Amazonite flat disc beads. Okay. And I bezeled them with my circular peyote figure eight anchor technique that I talked about.
Okay.
And then off of the center one, I switched to brick stitch to give it that look that's around the white that's around the original. I switched to brick stitch there, and it's really nice to do. I like switching from peyote to brick stitch. It's really easy to do, and you can. It's very easy to do, and I just think it gives structure, a real structure to the piece. So I did that, and then I attached obviously the other 4 bezeled Amazonite to it, and then I made a peyote tube, and made made it into a circle.
Mhm.
I did use, inside the circle, I used IV tubing.
IV,
Uh,
IV tubing. Now, how does that enter the picture?
well, my husband unfortunately was in the hospital, and I went to visit him, and I brought my beads as I always do, and I started looking at the tubing. It was attached to him at the time. And I started beading around it, okay? And I was like, wow. And the nurse comes in and she goes, please don't do that. And I said, and Ray goes, oh, she's been trying to kill me for years. And she said, please don't do that. So yeah, okay, I'm sorry. She came in with a huge coil of tubing, okay, for me to take home, which was very
Oh,
sweet.
that
I
was
don't
very
think it
sweet.
went on our bill. So what I do now with that, when I put around the tubing, I stitch into the tubing. So what I really did was I created this circle with the tubing, stitched it together, and then I peyote, tubular peyote around the circle. And every once in a while, I would stitch in to the plastic tubing to hold it in place so it didn't move. I never stitched, I didn't do that on Ray's IV though. I didn't try to punch
You,
that.
you didn't pierce it so that all the liquids came out.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
Okay, well, that was a good move. Okay.
Yeah.
But when you used the IV tubing that the nurse brought you, you felt better. You could pierce that since it was hollow. It was empty.
Yeah, I think I have some still somewhere around.
Okay.
But yeah, but
Well,
it worked well for me.
it was very creative and also very, I'm sure for Ray, your husband, it was very entertaining to have
Oh,
you
yeah,
come over and start embellishing his IV tube. And then the nurse walks in and she's like trying not to be hysterical.
yeah. And that was quite the moment among many.
Good move. Good move. Now, these darker blue beads and stones in here are made of what?
Lapis, they're faceted lapis,
Mhm.
coin, again, coin style
Okay.
beads. And they're faceted from Tucson,
Mm.
and I really like using them. I still have some, I think. So that's what they're made of. And then around the tubing itself, I switched to brick stitch once again. I
Okay.
switched to brick stitch and created the pattern around with brick stitch.
Okay. And the white beads, they look like seed pearls, but are they actually Japanese cylinder seed
Yeah,
beads?
the Japanese cylinder beads.
Okay. And I love the chain here. Tell me about the chain.
The chain is right angle weave. I wanted it to look like mesh, warrior mesh or something. But this right angle weave, it's flat. I didn't know cubic at the time, and I kind of stayed away from cubic for a while because I was afraid of it. But now I like it. But it's flat, so I had one component is made of 2 cubes, and then 2 11 rounds in between. So that's the first wall, and then off of that I built, I think, across it, like looks like there were 3 or 4, 3, and I worked up and down, back and forth. I don't like creating a whole strip because I get bored.
Mm.
When am I going to get to the end? So I like working back and forth. So that's what it is.
And I love the angle. It's kind of a herringbone. To me, it looks like a herringbone type of structure that you would see in a tweed, in a textile.
Well, that's the great thing about little cubes. I don't know, they give that tilt to pieces. I use them a lot in some stuff. So
Beautifully, beautifully done. I love this piece. Did this piece end up going to a very fortunate collector?
I don't know. No, I have to find it. I'm sure it's around.
Okay. All right. I'm glad you still have it.
Yeah, because I did not sell. I've sold a lot of the pieces for showing, but I did not. I don't even remember putting this up at
Okay.
shows. So it was way before I started doing shows.
Okay, okay. And now we're going to turn to another example of ancient gold work. This looks like it's a funerary wreath from it's ancient Greek, 4th to the 3rd century BC, and it's in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. It looks like hammered gold leaves, very fragile, very delicate, probably given to some movement, right? And this is, I think you mentioned to me, this is one of many types of this kind of necklace or crown or wreath that you have come across over the years, and you made this beautiful Olivia necklace in response. How did this come about?
I wanted to make the leaves look like laurel leaves because they were used a lot in Roman times, and crowns and such. So I started it with making, once again, a right angle weave spine of a certain number of units. And then off of that, all those side beads became up beads in peyote. And so I did peyote in those around, and I decreased naturally to get the curve of the leaf. And then I would do the other side. I didn't do it around and around like this. And there was a reason why I didn't, but I don't remember it. But I like the way it makes that right angle weave spine really gives a leaf balance for me.
And laurel leaves. Now, laurel leaves were important. I can't remember, to some ancient god or god.
Yeah.
There's some symbolic significance there, which I've forgotten. It's been too many years since I looked at this in school, right? But there is symbolic significance to the laurel leaf. We'll add it to the show notes or somewhere. I just absolutely love this.
I'll look and see, and I'll give it to you in the show notes.
All right, we'll figure it out. And on the next piece, you took inspiration from an ancient gold bracelet that's just encrusted with granulation and stones and some enamel, a multi-layered piece. Tell me about this incredible bracelet.
This bracelet I saw on the cover of a book from the Walters Art Gallery Museum. They did an exhibit years ago called Bedazzled, Jewelry Through the Ages. And it's a great book. Everyone should get it. I think it's still in print, or you could find it somewhere.
Okay.
Beautiful, beautiful pictures. And this bracelet was on the cover. And I saw it on the cover and I said, wow, I just fell in love with it right away. And I had stones I could work with, and I thought I could maybe capture it. If you look at the sides of the bracelet, it looks like there's some enameling on the original and gold work. And rubies and emeralds make up the centerpiece. So I just fell in love with it, and I thought, let's try it in beads. So.
Okay, so the original inspiration you found in a book. You're kind of a book collector, and so you love books on ancient jewelry. And so you happen to have this book from the Walters Art Gallery called Bedazzled, from the show called Bedazzled. But you also saw this bracelet in person. And I confess I love your photo of it better than the official photos from the Walters Art Gallery. Your photo shows the richness of the jewels, the deep, intense red of the ruby, and the brighter, almost a malachite kind of emerald green. And your photo kind of brings this bracelet to life. Now, how did this photo come about?
I was accepted into a jewelry show. They do it, I still think they do it, a jewelry show every year. And so I got to go to the Walters Art Gallery, and I did see it in person, and it was quite remarkable. The lighting was so beautiful on it. And I had already made the bracelet. So when I was at the show, I think I used the bracelet to jury in, the photo of the bracelet to jury in. But anyway, they knew it happened. They asked me to come and explain what I did in front of the bracelet. I think that's when I took this photo. So.
Absolutely beautiful. And even more beautiful, or equally beautiful, if not more so, is your own version of the Olbia bracelet. Where did you even begin with this one?
Ruby scarab. It's a hand-carved ruby scarab from Egypt, double hold, flat back. And I bought them a long time ago in California at a wholesale distributor, and I love them. And I think I bought them out. I still have a few. So I wanted to use that and to emulate the ruby in the piece, the Olbia, the original piece. So I bezeled that using my circular peyote bezel. This time I did it into an oval shape and attached the base through the 2 holes in it. And then around that, I built it up with peyote. And I used, I'm trying to remember what I used, bear with me. I just embellished it with little picots using seed pearls or something, little garnets, and that's how I embellished it. And I had made a flat 2-drop peyote base, and I just stitched that into the center of the base, the scarab. And then I bezeled some Amazonite stones, little tiny coins. These are really tiny ones. And I didn't even bezel these. I stitched them down onto the base and then built up around it, because the bezel would just be too clunky. So that's what I did. And that's what I did all the way along on the top and bottom edge bracelet.
Hmm.
So, and then the base is right angle weave once again. But I think it's like 3 and 2. You know, it's very open weave, right angle weave.
Mhm.
And I did that so I could stitch to it. I just found it easier to work with. And plus, sometimes if you do it peyote or brick in the band, I'm sorry, it takes forever for me. So this was, and I knew, and sometimes I have trouble when I'm embellishing them. So this I knew would work for creating lines for me to embellish. And the leaves are brick stitched. Greener leaves are brick stitched. So
Just beautiful. So this is 2 or 3 layers of beading.
yes, yeah, it's 2 layers of beading. You have the flat, and then on top of that is where I placed the other embellishments.
And you very generously shared diagrams for this bracelet in your book, which we mentioned your book earlier. And you're sharing 2 of the pages, 2 of the diagrams from your book. And so they show a little more clearly what you've been describing, you know, the different layers that are involved, the different techniques that are involved. And, you know, I don't think you could do this bracelet with just a single beading technique. This bracelet allows your mastery of beading technique to show and to allow you to render exactly what you had in mind by joining multiple techniques together, which you're so good at.
Also, it's very fluid, so it was very easy to work on top of, so it wouldn't become so stiff. It's very fluid. So it's like I forget, 3-sided on one right angle weave on 2 sides, and then single.
Got it. Okay. Well, I think it's really, sorry, what?
And it works up quickly.
It works up quickly. Okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't look quick to me, but okay. All right. If you say so. Okay, so now we're gonna skip forward somewhat here well, actually, we're gonna skip forward many centuries here from the ancient classical world to Spain, to 18th century Spain, with these earrings, these girandole earrings, I guess they're called. It was a style of earring that was apparently popular, like in the, I don't know, 18th century, 17th century, whatever, 19th century in Europe. And can you tell me more about what you love about this style of earring?
Well, I came across it probably in a museum or in a book. I can't remember. It was a book. It was one of my jewelry books. And I like the way that these earrings, they make them so there are 3 pieces. You have the top piece that attaches to your ear. The second piece is like a bow shape that attaches to the top. And then you have this beautiful drop with filigree and everything, and that attaches to the bottom. I like the idea of making earrings that you could attach and make them adjustable or different. So I wanted to do a class with this, and I designed these earrings. Actually, these were bought by a flamenco dancer.
So I imagine she was picking up on the vibe of the original, which is from Spain, you know?
Yeah, that's true. I never thought of that, but that's true. Yeah,
Seems
very
to
nice.
be a must-have. Now, in your version, you're using seed pearls and garnets, I think. So where did you begin on these? Where did you start?
Well, once again, I did my circular peyote, but I made it into a square, and I did it 2-sided. So I stitched them together to give it some weight.
Mhm.
But the little bow section I did once flat right angle weave, single right angle weave, and I encrusted it with the seed pearls and the tiny garnets. The seed pearls are so tiny, and I can't find them anymore. If anybody knows, put it in the notes, okay? Because they're wonderful to work with. You could breathe on them, and they float, you know. But so I used that to embellish the so-called bow in the center.
Mhm.
And then the bottom
tassels,
yeah.
the tassels.
Yeah, these were once again freshwater pearls, and these I bezeled differently. I had started with a right angle weave flat strip, and so what I do is I create 1/2 of the strip, and I go up through the pearl again, and I go through that first bead on the edge, and back down. Then I work the other right angle weave to fit on around the other side of the pearl. Once again, go through to a bead, back up, and through the opposite side of the bead. And then I close it with the right angle weave top, and it has to be even. Has to be even. I don't know if I mentioned this, because if it's not even, the peyote doesn't work then afterwards, because all of those up beads in side beads and right angle weave became up beads in peyote, and so I would just stitch them, and I think I used tiny 15s to stitch them in. And then the bottom I built off of, and I think I just had fun with making little seed pearl picots and garnets and all of that.
So rich and beautiful, you know, these earrings could have been made in the ancient world. They very much have an ancient feeling to them. And I'm a little bit envious of the dancer who got them, because I bet they're a joy to wear.
I hope so, for her sake. You know, she was very nice about it.
I'm
She
sure they are.
She had long black hair, you know, and really beautiful woman. So it was fun.
Wow. So they went to a good home.
They went to a good home.
Good. And so now we're moving a little bit forward still in time, moving from Spain over to Italy. As a book collector, you mentioned, I mentioned that you have quite a few books on jewelry. And one of them is this book on the Castellani family of jewelers. Apparently the original founder set up his shop in about 1814, right next to the Spanish Steps in Rome, a very famous tourist site, thereby I'm sure ensuring a very steady flow of people coming by the shop. And then subsequent generations took the shop over and carried it on. And their specialty was very dense, heavy gold jewelry, sometimes reproducing ancient forms of jewelry, sometimes modifying them somewhat. But apparently the reason this shop, the Castellani family shop, was so popular and their jewelry was so successful is because it was being produced at a time when different archaeological discoveries were happening, apparently in Egypt, and also in the ancient classical world, in Greece and in the Etruscan world, and in Italy. And so the general public really loved these ancient pieces and welcomed the reproductions that were being made by the Castellani family. So you have this incredible book. It's in Italian. You read Italian, right?
Not as well as I should, but I can get the general gist.
And you speak Italian, obviously. You lived in Naples for 4 years. I mean, come on. And so you came across this image of an Egyptian revival necklace. Tell me about what was your reaction when you first saw this image in the book?
Well, I immediately thought of delica beads or toho beads, cylinder beads, because the squares, I mean, it's made for cylinder beads, the squares that are on top of the scarab. I also wanted to use scarabs, and I had a collection of some of these to do also. So the original piece is done in micro mosaics. Those are all tiny little tesserae, glass tesserae. It's amazing. So I wanted to capture that with beads, and that's one of the pieces that came to me. And I thought, oh, okay, we can do this. There was no doubt we could do it. I don't know why. Every once in a while, luck carries on. But so I did this necklace, and I started with the squares, and they were square stitch, and I used all the way across. And square stitch gives it a nice rigid component, but it also really, really looks like the original micro mosaic because the beads are even across.
Right.
So I did that, and then I did the scarab, bezeled the scarab the way I normally do, and I built all around the scarab with brick stitch again. Okay, and so once I had the scarab, I attached it to the square by stitching up a couple of beads, maybe 4 or 5 beads, from the scarab up into the square. Okay, and then I filled that in with, I believe, a variation of peyote that's pretty freeform. That's probably what it was. Okay. And the bottom component was once again circular brick. I know I've said this before, but I really like circular brick for building domes. So I put 2 of those together, the same on each side, and then I stitched them together by weaving under the connecting threads, and then I covered this with seed beads.
And you have a very interesting story about this piece. Apparently, You saw it. It was offered a few years ago by Sotheby's, the actual Castellani family necklace, right? I'm thinking there was only one in the world, but I could be wrong. Anyway, you notice that it was being offered for sale, I think in Dubai, by Sotheby's, right? And that was happening. Something else was happening. One year after you made this piece, you took it with you to the American Craft Show in San Francisco, and you displayed it prominently. And then a woman walks up, and what happens next?
Well, she looked at it. She says, "Oh, Castellani." And I said, "Oh, are you familiar with?" And she said, "Yes, I'm the curator of Sotheby's of this collection." So then I like probably jumped on her lap or something and said, "Tell me about this piece. Tell me about that piece." And she's really a lovely lady, and she bought the piece. So she was really and very helpful. She even has sent me emails about other archaeological revival jewelers and things like that. So it was really quite fun to meet her, and I was honored, you know.
Yeah, it was like the piece was destined to go to her because she knew what the original point of inspiration was. In fact, she was closely related to it.
Yes.
And it happens that through a very unfortunate crisis in her life, she lost the necklace and could never get it back again. It was destroyed. And so she really begged you to make a second version. And then what happened?
Um, well, I did. I made her a second version. There's no two ways about it. And I believe she wore it when they brought back Castellani in Sotheby's. I believe she wore it there recent in the last couple of years. But I was happy to make it again for her. You know, I like making the piece, and she gave me so much information. I just liked her. You know, why not like her? So yeah.
Again, it went to a very good home. This very special piece went to a very good home twice.
Twice, yes.
And you know, while Castellani seems to have been using gold scarabs, they look like they're gold. I don't know what they actually are. Yours are faience. Um, modern, probably modern Egyptian faience, or were they ancient Egyptian?
Yes. They were modern. They're modern
Okay.
faience, and I have a lot of them. These were white and blue, and I mixed the two colors of the faience. Each one scarab was white. I did another one blue. It was a little not asymmetrical, but just a little bit different each one.
Yeah, the variations are really nice, and they add even more richness to the piece. So now we're going to leave off looking at jewelry as a point of inspiration, and we're going to look at your love of ancient frescoes. Tell me about this particular. There's one particular fresco you loved of a giant peacock. Now tell me all about this.
I saw this on a tour in Villa Apontis, which is an ancient Roman villa, seaside resort of Nero's wife. They think it belonged to Nero's wife, Poppaea.
Okay.
And I went there, and it is also called the House of the Peacocks. And there is a huge, huge peacock on a fresco. It's fabulous. I think I have a picture of it somewhere. And I just loved it. And I wanted to do something with peacocks. Okay. And also, I think it's not a symbol of Juno, but I think it is one of her animals or that she had, the goddess carried with her or something. So anyway, I did that. And this house is, you have to see this house if you're ever in Naples area. It's Torre del Greco. And it's an amazing, the frescoes are unbelievable, unbelievable. And it had a swimming pool, and the frescoes around the swimming pool had peacock feathers. So there's a lot of peacock motifs all throughout the feather motif. So I had found these rubies and lapis at Tucson, these long elongated pieces, and I wanted to use them in this piece. So I did St. Petersburg chain, and I did double St. Petersburg chain. You can do it single or you can do it double. And I did it double, and I folded it over, and I bezeled, of course, I had bezeled the stone, and I attached it to the stone. So it looks like a feather going up. And then to that, I did another double, St. Petersburg, different color. And I attached that to what the first one.
Mhm.
And then the third one, as you can see there, I did layers and layers
Mhm.
of this St. Petersburg and just attached them. And it gives it some depth to make it double.
Yeah, I love the depth here, the very soft curving depth here in your peacock necklace. I've never heard of St. Petersburg stitch. I'm not nearly as much a master of different techniques as you are, so I'm going to have to look it up. Where did you ever come across it?
I think I had a friend who made a necklace. We were at dinner one night and she did it all in gold of double St. Petersburg. And I think it was a project in Beadwork magazine or
Okay.
Beading, I can't remember.
Okay.
It was gorgeous. And I said, what is it? And she said, oh, this is St. Petersburg chain. So immediately I got the magazine or I looked it up and I found this chain. And it is really a beautiful chain. I've used it in bezels. I've used it quite a bit. So funny story though, I was at my friend Julia's house in Naples, and one woman who works for her was watching me bead, and she's like, "What is that called?" And I told her St. Petersburg chain, and she kind of laughed. She said, "There's no chain like that in St. Petersburg." So, and she's from Ukraine and Russia, so it was kind of funny. But I don't know where it got its name, but I like it. Look it
Okay.
up. It's fun.
I will look it up. I promise you. I will. Absolutely. I will put it in the show notes too, if I remember, which I hopefully will. Okay, so that was beautiful. I hope I can go there someday.
Oh, we have to go. We'll go.
Yeah, we'll go together. That'd be fabulous. We'll bring Laura and Carol. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
So our final point of inspiration for today is just technique, beading technique. You have taken like an initial concept and worked it through and been surprised at what the amazing results that you got just by working through the concept of a certain beading technique. So tell me how this beautiful autunno necklace came about.
Um, Long ago, I had been using right angle weave, flat right angle weave spines off of to make the Santa Sofia necklace
Mhm.
and the scepter beads. So you have a base of peyote, and then I build spines off of it. Well, I wondered what would happen if I just did a straight flat right angle weave across, and then from each one of the beads or every two beads, do a right angle weave stem. Okay. And I did that. And then what I did is I started to peyote in between. I would create each little component by doing peyote in the one component, then moving over to the next one. And so each component was done with peyote. And it started to curve as I don't know if I showed you this, but this is one of the original ones. Okay, like so. Okay, well, it's put together like as the flower.
Okay.
But if you open it, you can see the spines, the right angle weave spines, and how
Oh,
they.
I see now. Wow, what beautiful flair. What beautiful,
It just
curving.
it just curves on its own. It just started curling. I mean, you can see it just naturally curls, and don't ask me why. But it just kind of nice hearing too. Uh, but so it curled, and so that's when I decided to put them all together and make it into a shape, which to me looked like a flower.
No,
And
oh,
I
yeah,
would just
absolutely.
stitch. I would stitch each petal each section to another bead in the base row to make it stable in one piece.
And it's very rare in our field that I know of for a single necklace to look completely different on both sides. It isn't that common, but you've managed to do that here. You got two completely different looks on one on one side and one on the other side. And I think it's fascinating. It's very rare as far as I know. And when I looked at this detail of the autunno and one autunno necklace image, it really reminded me of another piece we talked about, another kind of piece we talked about in our last interview, where you were inspired by a piece, an ancient mosaic featuring an interwoven knot motif.
Right.
And you made
Yes.
this example on the left here, which is just a sample. It never got worked up into anything. But it reminds me of this. It's like, you've taken a leap forward in the autunno necklace by making not one piece that looks the same on both sides, where the two parts are interwoven, but one piece that looks completely different, and both the sides are interwoven. So I see this as a kind of a quantum leap forward.
Yeah, yeah, I never looked at it that way, but this not the I was still using the technique we talked about in the first interview, the flat peyote strip and then folding it and joining it.
Mhm.
And I did one ring, which is like this four, one ring complete, and then I did the other one and left it open and then braided and then stitched together. The
Mhm.
center is when two whole beads came out. They're called super duos,
Okay.
and to me they look like little inlays and pavements, or and so that's why I use them for the centerpiece. So
In the sample on the left of the, you know, ancient knot type of motif. Well, very well done, beautifully done.
thank you.
And an example of how you keep pushing forward, you know, in your invention of new forms and new ways to express your ideas. Very impressive. And now we're coming to a different part of our talk. We're going to talk about the wedding, the whole wedding of Carl, your son, and Bhavika, his beautiful bride, whose family lives in Calcutta, India, and she grew up there. The wedding itself took place in December of 2021, but you had already met Bhavika's mother and her aunt back in 2019 when you went on a voyage to Scandinavia to take a look at an art show that was being held by or in which the pieces, the paintings done by Bhavika's aunt were being featured, right? So you already knew them, but
Yes.
then in June of 2021, I think it was, you and Ray hosted a civil ceremony for a civil wedding ceremony for Carl and Bhavika in your home. Is that correct?
They went to the justice of the peace the next day, which was really lovely. But we wanted to do a mini reception for their friends here that weren't going to make it to India.
I see.
And actually, we made it into a whole big event. We changed the backyard. And, my son Carl set up a huge monitor, and we could talk to the relatives in India, my brother's family in Pennsylvania. It was really a wonderful time. It was our way of, doing something for them.
Right.
So
But you live streamed
yes,
yourself
yes,
to
yeah,
different parts of the world. I think that's
yeah,
amazing. It's wonderful, you know?
it was really fun. It was fun.
So everyone could participate. But then in December of 2021, in the height of COVID, I remember you were having trouble getting a visa or something.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was trouble. That's why I have a 5-year one now. But
Right.
everything was so different, and we actually were delayed getting there because I forget what happened with his COVID thing. I don't know. It was a mess, but
Oh,
we
yeah.
finally got there. So
Okay. In December, and that's when the wedding ceremony took place, and it's a multi-day event, right?
yes, yes, it was
And
three
you began with
days.
the one of the most important rituals is the henna ceremony.
Yes, yes, and they did a henna on these young girls. Beautiful. I've never seen it done. I've looked at it and found it, but never seen it actually done. I had it done on me, but they do these elaborate designs on your hand. And in Bhavika's case, on her feet and her ankles, it's because she was the bride.
Mm.
They did my hands, and it was also part of. I think there was also a ceremony that went with that. I don't know if it was the blessing of the house or whatever, but the whole yard was decorated with marigolds, and we watched the ceremony with Carl and Bobbick. And once again, you could see them using herbs and marigolds in the ceremony and putting them in different spots. It was beautiful. So it was a fun day.
And Carl's had his hands done with henna
Yes, he
too.
had his son. Eric did too. I don't
Eric,
think Ray
your other
did, but
son,
Eric did. Yeah, I
Eric
don't
did.
have. Yeah, my older son, yes, and
Okay.
Carl, yeah, he had them done.
And did Ray have his hands done, your husband?
I don't think so.
All right.
No, no, he did not.
All right. Well, that's all right. And we do have a brief video clip, which Carl and Bobbica have shared, that shows a small ritual that happened during on that henna day. So we're going to show it right now.
Okay.
Wow, that was amazing. What the gentleman to the left, is he like the officiant or something?
Yes, he's a priest, Hindu
He's the
priest.
priest. Okay, so he's coordinating the various rituals.
Yeah, yes.
Wow.
It
Well, thank you
really-
for sharing that with us.
Oh, that was amazing. I just sat there. And meanwhile, the whole henna party is going on outside. And I watched it with Bhavika's grandmother, Lakshmi Auntie, and she would explain certain things to me. But it was fascinating to watch because I'd never seen this in my life. But imagine in a church, a Catholic church, having people walk around with drinks in their hand while the ceremony is going on. It was just, it's really, I found it quite delightful, actually.
Hey, yeah, why not? So marigolds, this whole theme of marigolds. I remember seeing Monsoon Wedding, the movie. I think it's directed by Mira Nair. Is that correct? Or it's
Love to see it though.
Monsoon Wedding. I remember there are, beautiful scenes in that wedding of marigolds everywhere. I think marigold arches, marigolds absolutely everywhere. And so marigolds, we were just talking a little while ago, they're symbols of the divine union of Vishnu, who's a major god in India, and his wife Lakshmi. And you just said Auntie Lakshmi or Lakshmi Auntie. So Lakshmi must be a popular woman's name in India.
It is. It's a popular woman's name. I think it's spelled different ways, but yeah, it's popular.
And what else did you see? Were marigolds turning up everywhere?
Yeah, I mean, when we walked in that day from the hotel, they had a marigold arch and strands. Probably in one of the pictures, you can see all the strands of marigolds coming down. It's just beautiful, really beautiful.
Wow, it's lovely. And so on the actual wedding day itself, in this portrait here, you and Ray are standing just above Carl. Carl is seated. Carl's your son. He's the groom.
Yes,
And who is the gentleman to the left here?
that's my son Eric. That's my
That's
older son.
Eric.
Yeah,
Oh, oh, I missed
yeah,
that completely. Okay, so
that's
it's
my yeah.
okay. Your oldest son Eric, and so that's the three of you with Carl seated. And then this next beautiful image here shows you with Bhavika's mother, and her name is Ruby
Sika.
Sika,
Yes,
and
yeah.
she's lovely. The
Bless.
two of you together look
Oh,
so beautiful, dressed in your red and orange
she's
garment.
a fabulous, fabulous woman. Very interesting lady.
Mm.
Uh, she she helped me with everything. I mean, she arranged for them to put me in a sari because I couldn't do it. So I had women come and do my makeup and the sari. She treated me like a queen. Ray said, "Don't get used to this." Anyway, no, I joke. But she's a really wonderful woman, and her husband is wonderful. We were very, very fortunate because Bhavika's family, which we now consider family, are just amazing people.
And Bhavik herself is a very educated person. She's pursuing a PhD in English literature, I think, or something.
Something to do with international. Oh, I'd have to ask her. I can never get it straight.
Right.
I'll write it down.
Okay.
But yes, she's working on her thesis now, and she's working at the university now. So
Okay. And where did she meet Carl?
they met at ODU, I think, at Old Dominion University, because he was going there sometimes to meet with one of his advisors from when he graduated. And I don't really know how they met, but I know they met because he came home and he said that I met this beautiful, beautiful woman. And he showed me her picture and I went, oh, wow, yeah. So it's funny how it happened. And then the rest is history.
The rest is history. So I
They're
think
wonderful.
they seem like a wonderful couple. Absolutely. They look like a wonderful couple. So I think this next image is from the wedding day itself when you've got both families together.
Yes. This was the parents, the grandparents, and Carl and Bhavika. Yeah. To the left is Nishit, which is Bhavika's father.
Okay.
And then to next person is Lakshmi Auntie, his mother, and then his father next to her. And then you have the couple, of course. And then it's me and Ruby and Ray. So it's a nice picture. Actually, I just ordered a copy, so I want to put it in my wall. So
Definitely. Yeah, definitely a keeper. And here's a beautiful photo of Bhavika on her wedding day. in this incredibly sumptuous red and gold garment.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
This
It was
just looks, she looks
beautiful.
so happy, like the classic radiant bride, so happy.
She was, and for the jewelry she had on, you know, they have jewelry that are heirlooms, family heirlooms, and they get them out for that day. The
Right.
jewel, actually, the jewelry of every woman at that wedding was, I couldn't get over it. I wish now I had taken more pictures. I wish I had said, "Excuse me, could you pose with that earring?" Because they all had incredible jewels. They bring them all out for the wedding. It was wonderful.
Right, right, they come out of storage.
She was a beautiful, beautiful bride.
And now, I really want to say thank you to you and Ray, but also especially to Carl and Bobika, because they have shared even more video clips from their wedding day. So we're going to take a look at some of them now. And there's music, there's dancing, there's happiness, and we're going to check them out right now.
I don't think I've ever seen Carl dance.
Wow, how inspiring. I mean, what a beautiful occasion.
It was fun, and they were teaching me how to do the dance, you know, and Bhavika's uncle, who's married to Bonnie, the artist. He's the best dancer I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
He is just, I have a video of him in Sweden dancing with her. And he was trying to show me how to dance. I certainly didn't capture it as well as he did, but it was a lot of fun.
Oh, it looks like a lot of fun for sure. Okay, and so then after that, Carl and Bobika came home, so to speak, to live in the US. They live near you, right?
Yeah, about 10 minutes away, right down the road in Larchmont area of Norfolk. A
Okay.
beautiful pre-war building, 1917 condo.
I'm
Yeah.
glad they're close. I'm glad they're close. It's a great blessing. And your other son is Eric is close too, right?
Also close also, and it's nice. We have every Sunday we have gatherings where Carl and Bobika will come cook and we discuss politics or watch a movie together. It's nice.
Oh,
Nice.
it's wonderful. Do they cook Indian or do they cook American?
Indian or Asian. Sometimes Carl will cook Italian. She just made a great recipe the other night with, I guess they're called Chinese string beans. They're really, really long.
Okay.
And she chopped them up and then they were so good. She steamed them and they were in some dish with other stuff. But yeah, they're both very good at it. And Eric will cook too. He bakes pasta carbonara. So.
And of course, your boys lived with you when you were living in Naples, right? So they grew up for 4 years living in Italian culture, and of course they love pasta.
Yeah, yes, they do, very much so, very much so. And Eric is going back to Naples in September to study Italian again and look into the music scene. He's a DJ, so he goes for a month. It's in his soul.
Yeah,
even more
it's in his soul, right? Yeah. Wow, wonderful. And next we're going to start looking at some images you have very generously shared of your trip to India this year, which happened in February. And you went with a woman who runs tours, cultural tours and arts tours, and her name is Jayashree Paramesh, and you liked her very much. And she's also a beadworker, and you could look her up online. Viewers of this video can look her up online. I'll put a link to her in the show notes because she too teaches beading. So she has a very insider perspective on what it's like to be a beader and to be going around India looking at different, textile traditions and other traditions. So here's an image of you at the Taj Mahal. Looks like it's sunrise. Is that sunrise or is that sunset?
I missed the sunset because I wasn't feeling well the night before, but the sunrise in the summer, it was amazing. I think I got up early, which is not usual for me, but it was beautiful. It sometimes tourist traps are just that for a reason. Like, it's beautiful. No one should miss it if they're there. That type of beautiful building.
It's just an amazing place, and this is a great shot of you. What else did you do in Jaipur? I think the Taj Mahal is in Jaipur. The
It's
gemstones.
outside of Delhi. I can't
It's outside
remember.
of Delhi.
Agora? Is it Agora? I have to look.
Oh, Agra.
Agra.
Yeah, Agra. Oh, it's been
Um,
too many years since I've been there. Of course, the Taj Mahal is in Agra. Okay.
we were in Delhi the first part of the trip, and we went to see some fabulous monuments there too. It was just, I just really fallen in love with the country and the people.
Mm.
Are just amazing, fun-loving, lovely, beautiful people.
So one of the things you did on this this trip was this tour. You went to a Bishnoi village, and I'd never heard of the Bishnoi villagers. Tell me all about them.
Me neither. When we went to see them, they are, for lack of a better word, it's a tribal village of these Bishnoi people. There was other people involved also. I can't really remember, but our driver, we went to them and he was a member there. They live off the land. The school we went to was fabulous. They don't have much in the ways of supplies, so we brought them supplies, and I hope to go back and bring them more. But these people, the tribe lives off the land. I mean, they recycle everything. They start to, they build their own huts and stuff, and they don't really connect with the outside world at all. I mean, obviously with tourists coming in and that, but what my driver, when I was talking to him, I said, "This is just amazing." He goes, "Yes," he says, it's really everything we need is here. We don't need a city." Which I thought was,
We don't need a city.
right.
Wow. Pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
I love this image of a woman, a Bishnoi woman standing in front of her house. Or I assume it's her house. That may not be correct.
Yeah.
But supposedly they keep their houses incredibly tidy. And as I
Yes.
think you said, they recycle everything.
Yeah, and we went inside one of them, the head of the tribe, of the group, I should say. We were invited to, they have an opening ceremony every morning with opium. Not much. It's legal for their culture.
Okay.
And we saw the whole ceremony of this thing. It's watered down, or it's a beautiful ceremony. He does his prayers and that. And I tried some, and so did a couple others. Did nothing, but it was something to see. I really enjoy seeing some of these religious ceremonies a lot.
Yeah, for good reason. Now, you also got to I don't know how to pronounce this, the Qutub Minar in Delhi.
Yes, that is how you pronounce it, I believe. Yes.
And it looks like it's made out of some kind of red stone. Is that, I don't know, is that sandstone? I didn't look it up.
I didn't either, but it is a red stone, and I don't know if it's sandstone or something with a terracotta. I don't remember.
It's a very tall tower, a prayer tower. Is that correct?
Huge. I mean, it's a beautiful place. It's just, we had a tour of that, and I just fell in love with the structure, the tower, and the curves. It has curves and then angles. It's a beautiful place. And I don't know too much more about the history. I'll have to look into it because I really enjoyed going there. I'd like to go back.
And I wonder, it's an Islamic structure. So for India's Muslim people, it's not for Hindu people.
Right.
It wasn't built for Hindu people anyway. And there are inscriptions, fantastically complex, detailed, ornate inscriptions on the surface, right?
Yes. Yeah, they're beautiful. You can see them. I think I have a close-up of some of them.
Yeah, we have a close-up right here. I don't know if these are prayers, if the inscriptions are,
I don't know.
prayers or, sections from the Quran. I'm just guessing. I have no idea.
I don't know, but I will research that. I need to know these things now,
I mean, it's just an exceptionally beautiful structure. It's amazing. And you actually found several of these decorations on the exterior that echo knots you had come across, knot motifs like the Solomon's knot motif you had come across when you were studying ancient mosaics when you were in Italy. What was it like to come across the exact same knot you yourself had used in one of your bracelets?
I just went crazy. I think I tried to take a picture. I was going all around the buildings then looking for them. I think I took a picture of everyone I saw. But it was amazing to me how, as I said in the last interview, how this knot transcends all cultures, religions, and ages. And I was amazed. It was exciting.
No,
Silly, I know, but exciting for me.
yeah, they may not call it a Solomon's knot, in
No,
India
right.
and in Hindi or whatever language these people spoke, but it sure looks like the same motif to you and to
Yeah.
me. And you found others too that looked on
Yes.
the same facade that looked like ancient knot motifs that you had come across in Italy.
They call Celtic knots,
Celtic knots as a very loose sort of
yeah.
westernized term.
If you look up Celtic knots, you'll see a lot of these, but they weren't Celtics, but Indians.
Right, they're sort of, pan global in scope. And you also visited workshops, textile worker workshops, workshops run by rug makers or featuring rug makers. What was it like to be with these people?
Oh, it was magic. I have found in a lot of the places we went, whether we were doing block printing or weaving or rug making, these villages have started cooperatives. There's always one guy, entrepreneur guy, who decides to uh, make them into a group or like a co-op. And so they make money at what they do, and it keeps the art alive. So this woman, she was fabulous. And watching them do this weaving was amazing to me. And I've always loved the geometric patterns. So it was really cool. Yeah.
So
Nice.
on the left, she's working by herself, but on the right,
Yes.
there's an image of a group of men working on one rug, it seems.
Is it? No, this is I think this is when they're doing embroidery. This is the embroidery one.
Oh, there are a bunch of gentlemen on the right doing the embroidery.
Embroidery, I believe. Oh, she's spelling. I'm sorry. Pause for a second. Yeah, they're doing the embroidery. We went to see one village where we watched the men do embroidery. I know the women do it too, but it was just interesting to watch them do this work. And then down the street was the guy who sells all the gold work tubes, the metal tubes and metal mesh threads. And boy, we went crazy. And he kept bringing out more and more. I bought so much. So
of the Zari embroidery, the gold thread embroidery, it's known in some places as Zari embroidery.
yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh,
So this one was working with sequins, the close-up. It was doing a beautiful thing with sequins. It was gorgeous.
Okay, so sequins, are they called sheesh?
Oh, yeah. Look this up. I think he was doing sequins there.
Okay.
There's some sequins on.
Absolutely beautiful. So was he going to be working on this whole piece by himself?
Oh, he had other gentlemen around working on it.
Oh, there were other gentlemen too, not in the picture frame. Okay. And then so one day you encountered a snake charmer. What was that like?
Oh, well, that was fun. We were in Jaipur. I think that's our first morning in Jaipur. Our guide, he was great, wanted us to get up and see the tradesmen coming in from all the villages to set up for farm market day or whatever.
Mhm.
So we did that. And then he also took us to the Hindu ceremony for, oh gosh, I think it was Vishnu. But the morning ceremony with all of the people. And they were singing and just singing and so full of joy. I've never seen anything like it. It made me cry. It was an experience that I will never forget in my life. But then we go back and we were going to do some touring, and there was a gentleman there who was a snake charmer. Now, evidently, once this will die out, once it's not illegal yet, but usually they pass it father to son, And I think that's not going to be allowed anymore. They're going to phase it out. But he had his snake in the basket, and everybody was, you know, watching him charm the snake. And then people were going up, a couple of gals were going up and putting it, sitting there and having the snake on their neck. And I said, oh, what the heck? My brother had snakes. I'm going to do it too. And it was great. I mean, the snakes, feeling them was beautiful. They're not slimy. They're this gorgeous feel. I wasn't afraid. But my husband thought I was nuts when I showed him the picture.
Well,
But
I mean, you got to kind of wonder, what if the snake, is in a bad mood, or
yeah,
I don't know, didn't get enough to eat in the morning or something like
yeah,
that. I mean, when I saw this, I thought, well, Maggie, don't do that,
yeah, I showed it to, I sent the picture to Ruby and them in Calcutta because I was there ahead of time, and she couldn't believe I did it. She's
Yeah, Ruby is Bhavika's mother, your daughter-in-law's
yes,
mother. Okay, all right, but what glorious images, and you'll remember this for a lifetime.
yeah, I will. It was fun.
And you also went to this shrine for Sarasvati, a goddess. I forget what she's a goddess of, but she's an important goddess in India. Is she a goddess of hearth and home or something, or wisdom, or?
It's art and wisdom, I believe. I have a sheet on it.
Okay, we'll put it in the show.
But this was in Calcutta. We went to Calcutta first before our tour with Jay. And so
Okay,
this was the day, first day there, they came and got us because it was the festival of Saraswati. And each neighborhood had a different shrine up to her. And there were men around, and they were beautiful. Actually, Bobbick even told me the iconography, which I can send you to put in the notes. But it was wonderful. And they were, once again, it wasn't solemn. They welcomed us to sit down. They wanted their picture with us in front of the goddess temple. I mean, it was just wonderful. And I think she's so beautiful with such different faces in each neighborhood. It was a really great experience.
so each neighborhood has its own depiction of, you said Sarasvati?
Yeah, Saraswati, I believe. Yes.
Wadi or Wadi, yeah, however it's pronounced, yeah.
So yeah,
So were these images from your wedding trip in 2021?
no, these were from February. I went to Calcutta first before I went to join Jay's tour.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So it's still, you were in Calcutta visiting relatives.
Lisa Brune and I went ahead of time to meet family.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay. And only then after that you joined the tour. I got it. I understand.
but
And
it was
so
beautiful.
will you go back to India?
Yeah. Yes. Yes,
And
absolutely. I've got a 5-year visa. I'll go.
okay.
I enjoy being there with them. I love, they're a lot of fun to be with. I want to go back and see more of Jaipur. I want to go to the elephant reserve we went to and stay overnight. They have glamping there. And yeah, I will go back. I will go back.
And do you think that, your love of Indian culture, your newfound love of Indian culture and art and jewelry, do you think that's going to inspire you moving forward in your designs?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yeah.
Do you have
Already,
ideas right now?
pardon?
Do you have ideas right now for pieces?
Yeah, absolutely. There was an earring that a lot of women were wearing at the wedding, and they were gold, and I think they were granulated, but they were domes, one layers, over the other, not joined, but so it had movement. And that I'm going to work on as a pair of earrings. And then they had little dangles around the bottom. The jewelry there was unbelievable. I've never seen it in my life like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially at a wedding, especially when all the women are wearing their best.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Family
Except
heirlooms. So now, we're going to talk a little bit about a master class you're going to be offering next year, probably next summer, at an artist's residency place or artist workshop place that has been it's being run by Samantha Norgard. She's also a beadworker and an artist. She's faculty at the Savannah College of Art and Design, if memory serves. Well, she has created this place, this kind of retreat where artists like you can offer workshops during the summer, and then people can go and, participate, take themselves out of their daily life and focus on one type of art or another. So she has painting and she has other things, and she's going to have you featured for beadwork next year. So tell me about this.
well, I had when I taught in the UK last November for Jean Power and Stephanie Burnham, I had a project for the retreat. But Jean, I don't know how it came about. I always wanted to do a master class where there was not a set project. And I think Jean asked me to go ahead and develop one. And I did. It took me about a year and a half or a year to develop. But it's beadwork inspired by architecture. So it was 4 days in person, not Zoom. And it was interesting in teaching this. They all did a great job, but I told them to come with an idea of something they liked in architecture, and we could see how we'll talk about how to transform. And some people did come with that, but some people just said, we don't know what we want to do, but we just want to learn the stuff and we'll take it from there. So it was very interesting, 2 different groups. And that's made it really fun. And I have a slide presentation at the beginning. They get a handout of about 100 pages documenting each form of architecture, arches, steeples, and all of that. And they also get a little bag with me that's already set stones to use in certain things and that stuff like that you aren't easy to find. So we did that for 4 days. They were wonderful. They were so much fun. Did it at the once again a beautiful abbey. So I went there, and then I thought to myself, I really enjoyed it. It was not, I like teaching a project, don't get me wrong. I do not like teaching Zoom. It's not my forte, but I did love being back in the classroom with something like this, where people were, the ideas they would come up with, or when the light went off, and it was just magnificent. And then I did a follow-up with them, and I plan on doing that with Sam's group also. So I thought I would propose it to Sam. You don't know if you don't try. And she was very gracious and immediately said yes. And so we're setting it up probably for late next June.
Like next June of 2025.
And I can't wait to see it. My French ancestors came into Nova Scotia. And actually I have the notes from my brother. They started communities there. So it's very interesting. I'm gonna take extra time afterwards or before.
Yeah. No, I think you're wise. It's a beautiful place. And we have an example here on the left. We have your Romanesque tassel. And this is just one of your many, many examples of how you can use architectural features in beadwork, how you can render them and then combine them with other elements. And on the right is a kind of a typical onion dome type of roof, right? A shape of a roof, which you love very much, turns up in different cultures, not just, in Eastern Europe, but also I think the Taj Mahal has a kind of an onion dome structure.
Yeah, definitely.
That's just one of the structures you'll be teaching for Sam Norgard next probably June of 2025. If people want to start signing up, is it too early? What should they do? Should they contact Sam Norgard? Should they contact you?
Well, I would have to check with Sam, and maybe you could put it in the notes, because we really just started this within the last week or so.
Okay.
I would imagine they'd contact her.
All right.
But once we get the dates and that type of thing, but let me check with her what's the best way. I will certainly promote it, and I'm happy to pass on names to her too. So whatever.
Okay, right. All right. So actually Sam is going to be coming on my channel in the next month or two, whenever she has time. She's up there right now in Nova Scotia, overseeing all these different workshops. And so she has a lot to do, but we're going to connect fairly soon. And I can't wait to talk to her too. Now, so Maggie, where can people find you? They can find you on your website, maggiemeister.com. And where else can they find you?
They can find me on maggiemeister.com. Also, I have a Facebook page. They can request to be friends. It's called Maggie. I have 2 Facebook pages. One is Maggie Meister Bead Art, and I think that's open to everyone. And then I have my private Maggie Meister page, and they can contact me through that. I am in the process of redoing old instructions and bringing them up to date and redesigning them. And I'm going to start filming them and put them on a YouTube channel. I'm in the process of creating a YouTube channel, and hopefully they'll be able to subscribe and get the instructions and then watch the different things. But that's still in the learning curve.
Okay, yeah, I'm familiar with the learning curve myself. So do you think the name of your YouTube channel will be Maggie Meister?
Yeah.
Probably. Okay.
Maggie Meister or Maggie Meister Bead Art, one of the two.
Okay, that's fine. I'm sure people will be anxious to start looking, and they'll probably start looking, fairly soon after they watch this interview and your previous interview and everything. And people love you, Maggie. They love your work. They love your warmth. They love your enthusiasm and your inclusiveness, right? And your creativity, your resourcefulness, and your vision for what's possible in terms of being inspired by ancient and modern pieces and interpreting them, reinterpreting them in your own style, as artists have been doing since long before Picasso. I mean,
Yeah,
artists have been
exactly.
doing this just forever. And you're just a beautiful example in the beadwork field and the art jewelry field of
Oh,
what it's like to do this. And what a rich life you have. What a wonderful
I
life.
I was a girl who never thought she'd leave New Jersey, you know.
You
And
thought
now
you
I
never thought you'd leave New Jersey?
thought, I don't know why. I just never imagined myself going to the West Coast as we did, and then to Seattle, and then to Italy, and that becoming a career. And all the friends and the contacts I've made are just priceless. There's no price I can put on the friendships I've developed,
Yeah, agreed.
and the experiences and the laughter.
And the
So
laughter and the wine, perhaps in some
the
cases,
one, yeah,
once in a while,
the one,
here and
yeah,
there, a
here and there, yeah.
little
Why
bit,
not?
a little bit. Bacchus. Thank you so much again. I really appreciate your spending this time with me and sending me so many materials that I could upload to our presentation. It means a lot, and I think people are going to love this one, love the second interview as much as they love the first one.
Thank you so much. It's really reopened the past for me and made me look at things a little differently and get out some old stuff. And so I thank you. It was wonderful to work with you. Easy, fun. So
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Ditto. No, you're welcome. Ditto. Are we going to do a third meeting where we do a live question and answer session for everybody to ask you
Sure,
questions here on YouTube? Is that what we're going to do?
sure.
Okay. All right. We'll get to that probably in the next few weeks or the next month.
Okay.
And we'll announce that on my my YouTube channel. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm not so good at Facebook, right?
Uh, I actually have to get better back to Instagram because I think Instagram is where people look more.
Yeah, Instagram too. But anyway,
But
we will do this live question and answer session on
perfect.
my
I look,
YouTube channel in the near future.
I would look forward to it.
Me
Thanks.
too. Me too. So I'll see you soon.
Okay. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you too.